We love our job. We spend so much time at our job. It becomes kind of a part of who we are, a part of our identity. And when we lose our job, either we decide to leave or someone invites us to leave, it can hurt. It can hurt a lot. And it can make us feel not worthy and it can make us feel like a failure. But the thing is, we kind of need to have a job and we need to have a career so we can do what we want with our life and take care of our family and be successful. Well, on today's show, we're going to address this very specific topic. What happens when you lose your job, and how do you get your mindset back to get on the horse and capture a new career? We're going to talk with mindset coach William Deck from Mind Business to address this topic on this episode of The Interview, presented by New Horizons Computer Learning Center. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, this show is a one-on-one interview session and a Q&A, which means we want to hear from you. No matter what platform you're watching on, if you drop something in the chat, we can include that into the conversation today. And New Horizons is the place where you can go to build your job skills and your career. If you're serious about getting a new gig, don't forget the thousands of training courses New Horizons can offer you to uplevel your skills. From an intro to computers you can take right on your mobile device, to Windows training, to immersive technology courses to prep you in the growing fields of cloud computing and cybersecurity and more. New Horizons is making computer training simple and fun so you can get a job better than you can even imagine. Learn more at careerdevelopmentsolutions.com. That's careerdevelopmentsolutions.com. The show is also sponsored by Forward Careers. Looking to launch a new career and change careers but don't know where to start? Check out Forward Careers, the preferred source for career exploration, education, and skill training and employment connections for every person and every business. Forward Careers is a team of workforce professionals that specialize in providing high quality, effective, and accessible career services to individuals seeking to improve their employment potential in demand driven and high growth professions. To learn more, visit them online at forwardcareers.org. Funding is provided by the Department of Labor Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, H-1B Tech Hire Grant, Department of Corrections Windows to Work, and Children and Families Independent Living. Our guest today is someone who I have a ton of respect for. He is a brilliant mindset coach and someone who I know can help you on your journey. So please welcome William Deck, the founder of Mind Business. Good morning, William. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Very happy to be here. Very thankful for the opportunity to share. So I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. And we've got a lot that we want to cover today, but let's just start with the very beginning. I touched on it in the intro that losing a job can really be hard on us. Why is it so difficult when something like a job leaves our daily routine?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's part of our identity. A lot of times we identify with, externals, meaning everything that we can see with our eyes or touch with our hands. And when some of those things are challenged or they go away or they change, many times because we identify with them from a personal perspective, then we begin to question, well, who am I now? And I think that's a big question and or fear that people have when they have this job transition situation going on.
And what does that feel like, that moment of who am I now? That seems like a very core kind of threat to our identity.
Right. And I can only speak from personal experience, but it's absolutely terrifying because when you have been in a place where you feel like everything is figured out and then all of a sudden it's not, when we don't have immediate questions that we can go to read a book or to ask someone and they can tell us exactly what we need to know, then what it does first and foremost is put the onus on us to go and figure it out. And that is really where the journey of self-discovery begins, when you begin to ask yourself questions as opposed to asking people around you questions.
Is that the first step in recovering, or whatever term you'd like to use? Is that journey of self-discovery before racing out and finding another job?
I would say that would be a wise choice to take, because many times we've started careers based on what people outside of us told us that we were good at, based on what we thought would make us a lot of money or other reasons that are relevant, right? However, at the same time, what I've seen a lot, especially with a lot of my coaching clients, is that they've gotten to the middle of their career and now they're questioning whether they still want to move on in this particular direction, doing this particular role or job. And they're saying, you know what, as I begin to ask myself questions, I'm not so sure if I want to do this for another 15 to 20 years. And that can cause panic. If you're 20 years in and you've built up a nice retirement thus far, that's a big decision to make. But it's necessary if that's the right move for you. And only you can know that.
So before we talk about how do we start looking again, getting our mind right to seize opportunity and welcome abundance and all of those things, uh, let's use a word that startled me when I heard someone use it in the job loss context, which was the word grieving. The period of you lose the job and you just grieve, you feel miserable for a period of time. I know it's different from person to person, but how does someone process that? How long does that last? Is it okay not to be okay? I mean, this seems like a big life transition.
Yeah. Once again, as we kind of started with, when you really identify yourself personally with what you do, and then all of a sudden that job, that career is taken away, then it absolutely can be a grieving process because once again, it's almost like putting to bed this entire chapter in your life. And goodbyes are not always easy, and so it's absolutely grieving. What I would say is something that you mentioned is it is okay to be, or it is okay not to be okay. Rather, many times, especially as men, I can only speak from the male side, we don't take the time to grieve or to process, right? What's going on, what's happened, and how do we want to move forward in a much better and more holistic way? Many times we just keep on pushing through. Now, that's not just for males. Believe me, it's for people in general, especially high achievers from a career perspective. But when you don't take that time to reflect, which is the going within process, many times we're building up a lot of um, shadow areas in our lives, meaning unresolved negative energy, negative feelings, negative emotions, and those begin to build up, within our own souls, really. And over time, at a certain point, we get to that breaking point where it just gets too much because we have not released along the way. Now the load has gotten way too heavy, right? And when you were 25, you could maybe squat 300 pounds, but now you're 55, and 200 pounds is way too much. And
Yeah,
so now you will need to offload in order to be able to move forward effectively and get that rep in, right? Which is living from day to day.
man. I don't know about you. I never squatted 300 pounds, but you must be, good. Um, okay. So let's talk about this. Obviously, working with someone like you will help us process through that period and get ready to move forward. But what can you share with someone that maybe doesn't have a mindset coach in their life or something that they're already relying on to make sure they're in a good frame of mind? Do you have any activities or suggested actions to close the past and then start moving forward?
Absolutely. One exercise that I do with all of my clients, whether it's at the organization level or with individuals one-on-one coaching, there's an exercise that I created that is basically a simple T chart. And all it is gives you an opportunity on the top left-hand side to write down as a title negative ideas about myself. And then on the top right-hand side, you write positive ideas about myself. And I specifically named this exercise the whiteboard of character because it gives great mental imagery. A whiteboard is something that you're writing on, and
Hmm.
character is associated with who you are at your core. So when you have an opportunity to begin to write down the negative attributes or ideas in phrase form or in word form that you identify with, you begin to look at that negative list and you're like, well, where did all this stuff come from? Now, of course, you write down the positive list on the right side, but this negative list is really the focus area because many of these ideas were not ideas that we gave ourselves. These are from people that we love, maybe our parents, maybe some close friends when we were a kid. Maybe it was based on a particular situation or circumstance that occurred at a younger age that really kind of marred us in a way that begin us down the path of thinking ourselves in that negative way or whatever the attribute is. And it's really important to take some time to go through each one of those negative ideas and simply ask, why do I feel this way about myself? Is this my own personal opinion? Was the opinions of others? Was it based on what happened to me? And many times we realize that, as I've kind of alluded to, a lot of these negative ideas or attributes that we ascribe to ourselves come from childhood. Now we're adults and we have adult challenges and opportunities, but we're still relating to life as children in those areas that we can identify those negative attributes. So that helps us to get to the root of what is going on within ourselves. And it's extremely powerful. It's a simple exercise in practice, But when it comes to actually going through it and processing it, it can be very difficult. And I've had many clients. I mean, they're senior leaders at big companies here in the Milwaukee area, and it took them 2 weeks to get that list
Hmm.
written down because it was that painful. But that's real. But that's also saying we're getting to the good stuff. These are our biggest opportunity areas to be able to move forward, whether it's for a new role or to continue to thrive in our career, because this is at the core of who we are. And if it's negative, it's not serving us.
So, as we process that list, we will get to know ourselves better, maybe make peace with some things that we've been carrying for a long time. And this job loss might have brought to the surface because it was such an emotional change. Let's talk about moving forward now. And by the way, if you're watching the show and you want to drop a question into the chat, we'll grab it and we'll ask William, because to get this time with a mindset coach like him, super valuable. So if you're struggling right now, you're trying to up level your career, you're ready to re-engage, we'd love to hear from you and we'll include it in the conversation. So if someone's done some of that personal work and they're ready to move forward, let's talk about getting them ready to dream big and follow their passion rather than just settling for the first thing that comes along so the pain goes away. Because I would imagine if you just settle right away, the initial pain will stop, but then you'll be stuck in something you don't want to do. So how can we get someone ready to follow their passion and not settle for the first thing that comes along?
Yeah, so I think that leads very well into step two, which is asking three core questions that I think we all must be able to answer clearly and articulately in order to be able to gain clarity in our lives. The first question is, who am I? Who am I? Right? Many times, once again, we're going to identify everything with the externals, but who am I at the core of my being? And many people have different answers, but in essence, we are formless, infinite energy, right? Which means we come from an infinite place and we have infinite possibilities. So we have to be clear on who we are so that if anything changes on the outside from day to day, year to year, we don't all of a sudden feel like it's an attack on who we are, because this body is only a portion of who we really are. Question number two is, where am I? So especially if you lose a job, right, and you're
Mhm.
having this crisis, you're going to have to really ask, where are you in your life mentally and emotionally? Not just where you live, not just where you plan on going next month or next year for vacation, but where are you mentally and emotionally? The exercise that's aforementioned is a great way to get started. But asking that where am I question is very important, because you begin to get to some of the root causes ways that can help you to begin to make a better decision moving forward. And then the last question is, what am I going to do now? Right? What is my plan? Do I really want to stay within this career? Do I have a passion in other areas that I want to explore? Do I want to take some time to go back to school or get a certification? Because now I want to get into IT, but I've been in law for many, many years. These are important questions to ask. And all of these questions that you ask yourself, I want to be very clear. It's not easy, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage. But asking yourself those three core questions provides so much clarity so that whatever you do next, you know what you want, you know why you want it. And so you have all the energy and the passion, and you have some time to build up that courage to now take that next leap, whether it's staying within the same career with a different company, going out on your own, or changing careers. It all applies.
It seems like that three-step process is incredibly valuable, but it's also coming at a time when we might be feeling really down, really empty, really beaten up. How do you summon the courage to do that? Because that process sounds great, but to sit there without a job, not knowing what's next, and to summon that courage, obviously working with someone like you, but do you go to a pastor? Do you go to your wife? Do you get your friends around you? Is it solo work? What do you recommend?
So I think all of those examples that you gave are great. If we're people of faith, going to a pastor can be useful. Of course, if we're married, going to our spouse can be valuable, or to a close friend, family member, a parent. But ultimately, when it comes to this journey of self-discovery, the reason why it's called self-discovery is
Hmm.
for a reason. Ultimately, the most important and powerful answers can only come from within you. No matter who's around you that has tremendous wisdom, or insight, or that you respect their opinion, they will always give you a piece of the answer. But the deepest, most important, and most truthful answers for your life path can only come through you. And so when it comes to beginning to just realize that, it is a lot to take in, because that means, in essence, and it is the truth, I want to be very clear on this. I don't give my opinion a lot, but I've studied this for 15 years, and it's very clear that the truth is that only you can do it. It is your life as an adult, not as a child, but as an adult. It's completely up to you in regards to the overall outcomes. Only you can put in that work. Only you can advocate for yourself in a way that no one else can. Now, of course, once again, having great connections is good. But if you go into that interview after someone helped open the door and you self-sabotage because you don't love yourself, you have all these negative ideas about yourself, you will still be your blocker. So only you will be your biggest advocate and or block at the end of the day. From time to time, and as we're growing, of course, people are going to be there to help us, and we need help from others. But it is really important to come to the realization it's up to us in the end. When it's all said and done, it's up to us, and it will have always been up to us. Now, once we realize that, yes, it's going to sting like hell and it's going to be scary,
Yeah.
but now you know the truth, and that truth can set you free, even if it takes 2 to 3 years to live it out. That's okay. But now you know, and you can never unknow, which gives you a tremendous amount of power to affect change in your life rapidly, because now it's time to get to work.
And that's what I want to touch on here at the end is you've had the chance to help people through these types of transformations. Is it worth it? What's it like when we get on the other side? Because it looks scary and we're exhausted and we're going deep and we're asking ourselves what might be a hard question for someone that's never really confronted it. But after it's done, it's worth it, right?
Absolutely. And I'll give a quick example just to give a mental picture. If you were at the bottom of a 10-foot deep mud pit and you had been down there for a long time, you were able to, eat some bugs and, get some water to roll it down. And it was really gross, but you survived, right? Which is symbolically being in a negative and fearful and beat down, not worthy state of mind. And then one day, someone throws over a rope and you've been down there so long, initially you're nervous to grab that rope because you don't, it's like, well, I mean, I've survived in here. I haven't been out in, 2 months. I mean, what's going to be on the outside? Is it wild animals up there? Who this person trying to throw the rope down? But you muster up the courage and you begin the arduous task of pulling yourself out. Now, not only are you pulling up, the person on the other end is pulling you or helping to assist you, but it's kind of hard to see who they are because, you just see clearly got mud in your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you eventually get to the top of this pit and you get out and you drag out and you're, face down for a second because you're so tired and exhausted, but you're happy to be out. When you look up to see who was there to help to pull you out, what you're going to see is a reflection of yourself. That is your higher self was to pull us out of these situations. Now, of course, many people ascribe that as God, as Jesus, and many other terms and names. But you have to understand that because we're in a physical body, it is whatever that power source you believe to be, it is connected to us and it is all in all us. And so it is absolutely worth it to make it through this process. Once again, I want to reiterate, this is not about saying you don't need others. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're going to get out of that mud pit mentally and emotionally, you're going to have to do the work. Now, of course, getting support in whatever capacity is going to work best for you. Always, of course, a mindset coach is always a great option. But however you do that work, when you look back and you look back down in that mud pit, you're going to realize that you had to, at the very least, pull from the other side to get yourself out of that. And once you're out of that pit, you never want to go back in. And so on the other side, it is a crystal clear revelation that no matter what happens in my life, I can never get down on myself. My situation may be bad, but if I get down on myself, I'm going to end back up in that pit. And as long as I don't get down on myself and begin to lose faith in myself, I will never go back into that pit. Now, I may have some tough days, may have some challenges, and we all will. But being in a pit and being stuck is totally different from being in a challenging time, going through maybe, a desert time, or it's raining really hard and the wind's blowing, but at least you have the ability to move forward, to take shelter, to rest and recover. But when you're in the pit, you're stuck. And many of us feel stuck. So when we get unstuck on the other side, it is a clear understanding through experience that no matter what happens, it can be tough, but I never want to go back in that pit. So hopefully that helps from a visual to give a representation of what this process is about and how powerful it is on the other side. And that's what we all need. That's what we all want.
It is. This conversation is exactly what I wanted. Thank you so much for providing your time and expertise today, William. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. William Deck, founder of Mind Business LLC. He's about as good as they come. And that conversation hopefully was helpful to you if you are in the pit and you're feeling like, I don't know what to do next, and you're beating yourself up. Because this transition is more than Cobra rollovers and trying to get a wage again and making the rent. It's an opportunity to really reflect on, what do you want out of life and what's the life that you want to live? And some of the advice that William gave us today hopefully will help you as you climb out of the pit and find your next opportunity. Our show is presented by New Horizons. If you'd like to improve your chances of landing that next great job, make sure to check out careerdevelopmentsolutions.com and chat with our training staff who are standing by. They are there to match you with the training you need to land a terrific opportunity. That website, again, is careerdevelopmentsolutions.com. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Forward Careers. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Hopefully you enjoyed today's show. Thank you for tuning in, and good luck on your journey. See you next time.